Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Sunday, December 1st. So I thought today we'd talk about what's going on with. I've joined a number of groups and I want your take on it, whether they're giving good information or misinformation or just straight up terrible information when it comes to repairs. A couple of you guys have asked, show us your scar from the open heart surgery. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it goes all the way up to here, all the way down into here. And then this belt that you see is what they call a life vest. And it's basically an oversized pacemaker. If my heart starts to go into a wrong rhythm, it will zap me. It'll tell me, and I have to push these two buttons. The first time, if it comes on again and I have to push those two buttons, I'm getting jolted. And then it's time to call rescue to come get me back to the hospital where they can do the once over on the cardiac. I have to wear this for 3 months, day and night. The only time it can come off is when I take a shower. And that's the only vulnerable time I have, is if I'm in the shower and my heart goes into a different rhythm, then I don't have the vest. That could be a problem. But enough about me. All right, so we're going to talk about these groups over on Facebook, so stay tuned. Alrighty, so welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. After having a long stint of being away, it's good to be back at the helm. Today is Sunday. I'm not going to give you the Sunday sermon. Figured today we would talk about, because I'm on Facebook a lot now. That's what I did in the hospital. I didn't have much going on, so I had my phone, and I would scroll through Facebook. And I joined a few groups that were small engine repair groups. And I think a lot of them are do-it-yourselfers instead of shops. But what surprises me is that even the shops are saying, no, that's the wrong way, you're doing it the wrong way. And I can give a prime example, okay? And the one example is a generator. Somebody in that group, they had a older generator. And the low oil sensor went bad on it. So when you unplugged it, it automatically started. There was still plenty of oil in the unit, okay? And they posed the question to me, and I said, well, a lot goes into that, because if you're replacing a low oil sensor on most generators, you have to split the case, because you're going internal out with the sensor to screw it on. It doesn't go inward, it comes out through the case. So you got to do a tear down on that engine just to get to where you can put that sensor in and tighten it up. So the question I come back at was, how old is the generator? That's a big question. And what's it worth fixed? And the guy said that it was probably 15, 20 years old. I can tell you right now, I don't care what generator you're looking at, you aren't going to get over $200, maybe 150, maybe even $50 for that generator. Now, what I told them in the group was, my normal course is I let the customer decide. I give them, this is what it's going to cost to do a complete teardown. Put a new oil sensor in it, idiot light, and you're going to have more than that generator than the generator's even worth, okay? Option 2 is go old school. See, a lot of the young guys don't understand that we never had that growing up. We never had that even when I was in my 30s and 40s. Any low oil sensor. You had to check the oil, and you were supposed to check the oil every time you used the unit. Just like you're supposed to check the oil on your vehicles, even though you got idiot lights that will tell you that add engine oil. But I can tell you with vehicles, a lot of times when they say add engine oil, it's almost too late, right? So we've done this a couple times already, of where we pose it to the customer, and the customer said, you know what, I'll just check the oil on it. Winner, I mean, it took shop time away from us, but I couldn't, just go ahead and fix it the right way, and then present the bill of $200 to $300 on a $100 generator. You see what I'm saying? So in the end, I leave it up to the customer to make that call. I'm more than happy to do the work because it adds work to the shop. But I want to make sure that's what they want, because it's going to get costly. At $55 an hour, it's going to get costly breaking that thing down, putting it back together. So a number of guys chimed up and said that, no, you're teaching the wrong way, because you need to be the purist, I guess. And that is, make sure everything is fixed 100% the way it's supposed to be fixed. Or don't do it at all. Okay. But then in the same token, I see some of these guys that are saying that are talking about trying to get something running, and you ask them, did you do a compression check on it? No, why? I pulled it over with my hand, and it's got compression. Did you actually put a compression tester in the hole for the spark plug and pull it over 4 or 5 times to see what you're running at for compression? No, I don't do that. You're a shop and you don't check compression first? Any shop, any do-it-yourselfer, you start with compression, fire, fuel, and air. There's your 4 biggies. If you've got all 4 of those, that sucker will run. But if you're lacking one of the 4, you're going to have issues with that, right? So it's common for us to, we just throw a compression tester, and unless it's just coming in for a service and everything is running and driving, we don't pay any attention to it then. But if we have one come in for repairs, that's the first thing that we do. We throw a compression tester on it. Most of the stuff that's coming through now has overhead valves, right? So you could get a poor compression reading, but correct it with the valves. The valves could be out of whack just a little bit. And that in itself, there's videos all over how to adjust the valves on most engines out there. Getting the top dead center and then doing your adjustments. But that's what we do. There's a thing you follow in the shop every time when a unit comes in for repair. And that is, if it doesn't have the compression, I don't care what you do to it. It's not going to run right. You may be able to get it to start on carb cleaner, but if the compression is getting less and less, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to start that unit, to the point where you're using carb cleaner to start it. And then eventually you won't be able to start it. But what do you guys' take on that? On like the oil sensor, would you just go ahead and replace it and then give the bill to the customer? Or would you get the customer the numbers to look at and let them decide? I know every shop is different, but I was just curious, because I think that you need to keep the customer involved to a certain extent on any repairs that go on that unit. And I've heard too many horror stories of these big shops charging ridiculous money just to change out a battery or minor crap, and charging, $600-800. Come on. But those bigger shops will stand their ground, say that that's just the way we do business. That's not the way we do business here in our shop. We like the camaraderie of our customers. Our customers are our friend. And we try to treat every customer the way we would hope to be treated in the same situation. So when it comes to fixing stuff, you want compression. If you have decent compression and you have fire coming off the plug, you can get a spark tester, put the plug in, and put spark tester between the plug and the boot on the coil, fire it over and see if you got good fire. If those two are good, go to fuel. How old is the fuel in the gas tank? If you're unsure, drain it. I'm telling you right now, it's going to save you a lot of heartache. We didn't have that policy at the shop. We just kept trying to start crap on customers' fuel. And I don't know how many times the issue was water in the fuel, of just getting plain ethanol fuel in a container and having it separate and being dumped into the guy's lawnmower. So what we end up doing is we drain the tanks and put a new fuel filter in place. All new fuel. Now we've got compression, spark, and we got good fuel. The only thing it lacks now is air, right? And these units, especially the one with the CDI boxes and stuff like that, they are all set to run at a certain amount of back pressure. When I say back pressure, I mean when you put the filter on, in a sense, you're choking it a little bit, right? Because it's trying to pull through the actual air filter. So when it comes to starting that unit, have the air filter back on it, a good clean one. If it gets a little bit dirty, you blow it out. If you can't, throw it. Get a brand new one, put it in, and now you've got all four things done. That machine should start. And 99.9% of the time it will start if you follow those steps, right? You just can't jump out in front and say, oh, it's a primer bulb and that's all the issue is. It could be the issue, but it could be compression too. And if you're not checking it, that's what I mean by misinformation. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion on how to do stuff. I'm just as opinionated as the next guy. But I also know there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I'm always open to other ways of doing things. But if it's a straight up, you're putting the screws to yourself and you're telling people around you that are trying to learn, you're telling them wrong information, then I try to correct them. And they don't like it when I correct them. And I don't do it to be mean or anything. I'm just like, you don't want to do it that way because of... And that's the thing I hate about text anyways is, you can read it so many different ways. The guy is pissed or the guy isn't pissed or this or that. But there is good information on the forums as well. But I'm talking about the stuff that's not good information. And hopefully you guys that are do-it-yourselfers on this channel are not taking what they're telling you as gospel. If you take, like I tell you with me, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you what worked for me. And I want you to take what you can use and leave the rest. Take what you can use to create your own mantra, your own marching thing to go with, and run with it. You're not going to hurt my feelings if 3/4 of the things the way I do it are still left. Not one iota. I don't want you to take anything that you don't believe in. Because if you're trying to start a business, or even if you're trying to get something accomplished, like fixing something, you want to be able to do it the right way. And the way to do it the right way is by either reading up on it, talking with other mechanics, watching this video, watching the channel. And there's a couple other good channels out there that are into repairs. Watch how they do it. I guess what I'm getting at with this video is don't take anybody's word as gospel on fixing something. There's more than one way to fix stuff. And you just need to develop your own way of doing things. But it still has to fall into that compression, fire, fuel, and air, no matter what. And you got to do it pretty much in that order. You got to do compression first, or because if you jump from compression and you do all the rest, and you come back to compression, you don't have the compression, it could be all for naught. All right. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I want your responses on what you think. If you're part of these forums and things, what's your take on it? How do you approach it? And the last thing I'm going to do for the second scar is I'm going to show you my leg where they took the veins out of my legs to repair the veins going to my heart. So let's see if I can do this with the camera. And there's the scar. Starts here and goes down into here. And you can see it's all bruised right up here to my groin. Well, I'm still kicking. So that's all that matters. So on that note, guys, you guys have a great Sunday. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Give me some topics. So what you want me to talk about. You know, I'm not doing much. I'm not allowed to do much. I can't even drive for 4 weeks. So I have to rely on everybody else, which is something new to me because I've been so independent. I think the biggest thing I've learned from this is you need to be willing to accept the help from others when offered. Because I always would drop everything and go help anybody. But I never gave them the chance to repay me for helping them. And I always said, no, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. But now I've had to say, okay, let the people around you that you've done things for year after year, if they can help you do things you can't do, then by all means accept their help. Accept their help. That's going to be the biggie for me. Is that I can't do it all. So you guys, I'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning.